Well, folks, a quick break this time around. Of course, this is the Asian Champions League here for Delta Force, day 2 of our 2-day LAN Grand Finals at DreamHack Shanghai. And I think you all just saw what happened. Our picks came in quick, and it's like I know ball. It seems like our Korea team who won the trade-off said, hey, we just did this. We're going to go defense. And then our Thailand team, who they obliterated this Korea team yesterday on trench line, said, fine, bet. We're going to trench line. See you there. And this is a cool opportunity. This is what I shouted out at the top of this matchup, not only for a bit of revenge here from the Korea team, but also Thailand to prove, hey, we actually are the better team, and especially on this map, we know how to win. So it's going to be a fun back and forth. There's a lot of storylines here. I'm really excited about these two teams getting a bit of revenge and getting a bit of back and forth on the same map. I'm really pumped about this one. So, yeah, hopefully you guys are tuning in, having a good time. Feel free to ask any questions as well. But this is our second best of 3 of the day. Here's the thing. Ignore everything else that happened. Just this map will determine who goes to the grand finals. Just this single map, which I'm so pumped about, Taylor. And it's good to see these two teams discussing strategy and likely discussing what went well and what went wrong for them last time they played on this map.
Yeah, you know, trench lines, we called it. We knew we were going to be heading to this map. And like you said, it's a matter of what went well, what went bad. In the case of Thailand, obviously, what went well? Like, how did we dominate? Can we replicate that? For Korea, well, what went poorly? Why did we lose? And what are we going to do to capitalize here? And they're starting at square one, literally on objective 1 on the attacking side. The tendency here, or at least the key to victory, is going to be speed and aggression, getting onto the hills quickly and overwhelming the forces of Thailand. But more importantly, remember, Goj, where they struggled the most, quite truthfully, was the use of vehicles from the Thailand side. They weren't doing an effective job of countering them. And I think today is a totally different story. They've caught on very well, and Korea has been doing a great job at shutting down the tank side of things. So Thailand on the attack. Of course, Korea will be on the defense. Let's see how this ends up unfolding. Korea, can they hold on this time like they couldn't last time?
Yeah, it's a great call out, and as a reminder, the A point is almost an arbitrary roadblock before we get to B1 and B2. We've never seen a team hold A to a point of actually making a difference. We know the strategies at this point, and it looks like that tank was targeting respawn beacons, which is, I think, a great move, whether accidental or on purpose, worked out well for him. But this is classic. Look, we have seen this gameplay loop now multiple times on broadcast, and so we know exactly what to expect. We've got the tank in the back, creating a little bit of opening for the team, wiping players on the point, and eventually the attacker going to be able to swing in using smokes to get onto the point, pressure enough to take this one. It's really going to come down to how do you play the trenches in B, and as the Thai team knows, they've beaten this team on this map before, so although they are frustrated about last map, I do think picking this map felt really good to them, and they're likely feeling good about this matchup.
So take already in the back line, no surprise there. That's just how it goes. The question is, does Korea want to try and take it out early on? Is it worth it? Like you said, A is just a temporary roadblock until we head into the trenches for B1 and B2. I do want to see more of a concerted effort, though, from Korea on B1 and B2, because that's where they struggled quite a bit. You know, if you remember, Thailand took over those sites pretty quickly. Korea needs to have a better answer this time around. And it wouldn't be trench lines without the Sanivas, man. These have been incredible. You see so many of them. There's going to be a wall. The reason why they're so big, obviously you got the shields, you got the grapple gun, but you also have the razor trap. And when you get into the trenches, placing those razor traps down to slow down your opponents, even just a little bit, puts them at a disadvantage so you can gun them down. So Saniva is going to be used quite a bit, as they have been throughout this entire tournament. A, being captured, but make no mistake about it, Korea has pushed in. They're putting up a great effort, defensively at least. Down to 189 lives is going to be Thailand, still very healthy, and I think Korea might be losing this shortly. The tank putting in a world of hurt.
Yeah, look, this is honestly the closest we've seen a tank get to point A in the course of the last couple times in trench lines. Thailand, as per the usual, pedal to the metal. They are getting extremely aggressive. And again, losing 12 lives on point A is a complete misnomer. It literally doesn't matter. They get those back immediately, and we're headed on to B1, B2. Classic start, and so far, so good. Thailand looking very clean, perfect execution. You can see already, by the way, 31 revives from Thailand. No wonder they only lost 12 in that. They were constantly picking people back up. They were taking no risk, but here's an organized push over to B1. It looks like to start. If they can figure it out, let's listen in.
สแกนแล้วสแกนแล้วสแกนแล้วสวยมากอย่าปั๊บไปเอามันได้อะไรยืดเอาไม่เลยระวังใหญ่ทีเดียวเพื่อนด้วยเข้ามาแล้วชุบกูหน่อยกูจะกางโล่ชุบกูหน่อยสวยครับข้างบนขวามามันจะตบหลังเห็นแล้วมาหลังบนสองเลยโอเคเสร็จแล้วใช่ไหมเอาไปสองเลยนะไปสองเลยไม่ได้ยังอยู่ไม่ขอมาหน่อยเอนจิเนียร์เฮ้ยอย่าทิ้งรถเอนจิเนียร์
Woo, I told you they were going to play aggressive. They were flying at B1, and one of the main reasons they had massive player advantage. There's a full squad of Korean players on the right-hand side that were trying to take out this tank, and it would have been worth it. They almost did. They needed one more rocket, but the engineers kept it up. They were able to back up behind this berm to stay alive. Almost a great call from Korea. Unfortunately, it's cost them B1 within just a matter of seconds of starting this. Now, they've got a great amount of effort to try to push back onto it and retake it, but this tank is back to full health and is peppering these Korean players that are still trapped in these trench lines over here. They almost just need to die and reset and swing back the other way. This could be potentially, if Thailand keeps on this pace, this could potentially be the fastest capture of B1 and B2 we've ever seen. They are flying through this map right now, crushing their opposition, but there are a lot of Korean players on B2. It should be a little bit of a stalemate for a moment. And who knows, it could, Taylor, it could look like what we just saw in the last map.
You know, the thing about Thailand and why they're so comfortable in the trenches is they love the CQC fights. They've got some great slayers on their roster who are not scared to get up close and personal and get scrappy. Korea, you know, much respect to them as well, but I think Thailand has the higher slaying power. So the bigger distances between the opponents, you know, between obviously Korea and Thailand, they feel more comfortable. Whereas Thailand, they're okay closing the gap. They're okay getting in your face. And, well, we're seeing that represented right here and now as it looks like Korea starts to get eliminated one by one. B2 quickly being encroached upon. I mean, Thailand is knocking at the door of starting to capture a B2. They're going to be there very shortly. Only a couple more members of Korea to get through, and well, I think this might be a wrap. You've got one more series of troops from Korea who's going to be coming in from the off angle. If they don't have an impact, B2's captured, and like you said, this could be a record.
Yeah, this is a great swing from Thailand. They came over immediately. We don't even usually see the tank on B1 till like 80 lives remaining. Korea still got these flankers trying to throw bullets down range, like the AT-4s at this tank, and keep it unhealthy. Unfortunately, they're not hitting that often, and because of it, there's just not that many amount of people on the point in comparison. Luckily, the team's able to hold it down, and it does look like Thailand's at least trying to get a little bit aggressive because it is pushing the tank back. So I like the strategy. It is working. It's just risky. Frankly, from the Korean side, they've almost lost both points because they're missing 4 players, and if Thailand knows this, which they do, they might be able to just fly at B2 with everybody all together and potentially take that point because technically they have player advantage.
B2 still looking quite healthy. Korea's managed to hold on. They're looking strong, forcing Thailand to bleed their lives. And although the C is going to be the next objective, which we'll naturally be going to, after the hold earlier that we witnessed from Korea, I believe it was, right? If I'm not mistaken, you know, you got to think maybe they have the same defensive setup with the dual tanks, the double tanks, which could potentially hurt Thailand. So the more tickets, the more lives Korea takes from Thailand puts them in a great advantage heading into C. Here comes the tank finally moving in. It's going to be over top of B1, getting close to B2. And like you mentioned, Korea sending additional troops onto the sidelines to get the off angle on the tank. You know, there's a thing, an old adage, right? Sometimes you win the battle, or excuse me, you fight the battle so you can win the war. And that's exactly why. That's exactly why. Now that the tank is gone, you just have to focus on the ground troops. I think it was worth it. I think the juice is worth the squeeze, brother, and Korea are in a much better spot than they were before. Let's listen in.
8,000년밖에 안 되는데.
오케이. 왼쪽 배탱크 라인 한 분대 와요.
예, 왼쪽 옵니다. 삐쭈 왼쪽으로
탱크 다시 온다.
우리 다시 탱크. 우리 우측으로 돌까요? 우측으로. 이번에 우측으로 돌까요? 우측으로. 좌측에 있어. 좋아. 우리 너무 좋아 지금. 괜찮아. 죽어도 돼. 나도 70. 이번에 군대 투자하기만 만들어. 왼쪽 강타 한번 맞으세요. 잡지 마. 잡지 마. 잡지 마. 안 떠났어요. B2 터널임.
Well, the comm sounded clean, but the comm sounded chaotic because that's the nature of warfare. I love the fact that we got a chance to see all four of those players finally executing the job, swinging around the outside, all shooting at the exact same time and blowing that tank up. Now, of course, it looks like they're going to have to do it again, and that's exactly what they're doing. Look at them run! They're on the way! They're all coming together, making a move. This is a perfect execution. This is all one squad, all working together under their squad leader, making a huge flank. They've been spotted out, and I think they're going to get taken out. That's actually once a squad. This has been a difference maker for this Korean team. Constantly, they do get all wiped though, so watch out for another squad of 4 sitting around the flank, potentially going to try to take this tank out. This is a lot of extra score that's already been sunk though from the side of Thailand to push up by getting another tank here. So keep in mind, Darkstar, who's in that tank, will have to double the amount of value if he wants another M1 tank to get back onto the battlefield later, which is something that could come into play. But so far, so good. I will say I am blown away with the amount of revives that Thailand's been able to get. We still have 148 lives. We got a long way to go for Korea, and all of a sudden, a massive force has made it to B2, and it doesn't look like there's a trade at hand.
Yeah, it looks like Korean forces are looking a bit drab at the moment. I mean, Thailand looking strong. Korea will go up. I mean, if they can take this back over and we continue on, that's going to take or hurt, I think, at least Thailand's mentality. I do see a lot of bodies on the ground. Korea's making great work of trying to retake B2. In fact, look at the overhead. All those green arrows is going to be Korea on the defensive side, mowing down the red players of Thailand. They successfully take over B2, Goj, which is great. And a respawn beacon, I'm not sure where it's at. It might actually be over on B1. Another vehicle's coming in, and this is going to be Thailand's. Great news for them. Korea is holding on tight to what they got. We have 2 vehicles now for Thailand. And maybe that's what they needed to finally win this B2, because they've been trying for so long. The Sanifa will win it for Thailand on B1. Thank goodness, or else they would have been losing both hills at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of folks down there on B2, and ooh, already it looks like that's D. I mean, that's so far away. They're calling in that tank, and they were able to get it in. I thought it was destroyed, but hey, if you want to make sure, that it gets called in. I mean, they're way back there. Unfortunately, because there's just less players. This is 20v20. You can't afford to have 5-6 players super far away, because all of a sudden both points are going to be capped, and we're going to be moving to C here in just a moment. If this remaining player gets wiped out, bang, there it is. As much as we were lauding Korea's ability to take away folks on the map, unfortunately they only took down 53 total, which means we get all those 53 back, and we are back up to maximum lives. Thailand in the lead going into C, and again, we've seen only one team ever hold a decent C position. And I'll go ahead and tell you what, it was not Korea.
200 lives for the side of Thailand. All that work for Korea, all the blood, sweat, and tears, just to go into C with the reset. Look at all the red in front. Thailand so aggressive, pushing up. I mean, looks like they're going to clear the ground very quickly, overwhelming Korea. And it's only a matter of time before they're on C. This could be a cap, as you quoted earlier. What, in 60 seconds?
Yeah, it's pretty classic. Siege is very difficult. It does look like we've kind of restabilized back onto the actual point. So right now, we're going to be looking at Thailand to blow some holes in these buildings, make it a lot more difficult to defend, and then just wipe these players to a point where they can't respawn fast enough to hold it. C should go pretty quickly, but then after we move on to D, that's where the rubber's going to meet the road, and we're going to need Korea to step up in a big way to deplete the resources so there's not maximum lives going to E if we make it there. Thailand, known to be good at this map, proving why. Really strong by playing extremely aggressive. It's working out. Let's listen in.
กูเล่นซ้ายสุดให้กูเล่นซ้ายสุดให้เพื่อน เฮ้ยมุมไหนวะซ้ายอ่ะไม่เจอว่ะเฮ้ยซ้ายสุดขอแมปนี้ซ้ายสุดขอแมปนี้นี่สวยขอรถถังกูจะไหลรถถังกูอยู่บนเขาบ้านมันกูอยู่บนเขาบ้านมันฟังกูจะไหลรถถังมีโฮมิ่งไหมไอ้ฟิวมาเกิดพี่ฟิวมาเกิดพี่อยู่สายเลยมันเป็นเซนโลพี่ผมยิงเฮ้ยขึ้นหัวรถถังกดมันจะเข้าโกดังรีคอนตาย
Well, comms obviously smooth because, well, they've got to protect this point. And here's the thing, right? You compare the two Korean defenses they've had. Korea on C, they technically did have one of the best holds of C we've ever seen by doing this strategy, which is up on top of the hill looking over. The problem is they weren't fighting Thailand. When they were fighting Thailand and they tried to hold C against Thailand, it went basically exactly like this. 6 lives being spent, and Thailand essentially has control over all of C. This tank is just too big of a risk factor to lose going into D. So this looks a lot more familiar to yesterday than it does to a couple hours ago when they did have a really strong defense on C, Taylor.
Gotcha. Oh, already using AT4 aiming in. Takes a couple of ticks off of the tank. That's coming in very quickly. Oh, luckily for Korea, the second AT4 will be missed, and therefore the take will be on the ground. And that's good news, especially now that we're heading into a fresh set of objectives. We'll be going into C1 and C2, which arguably should be a lot more difficult, or should be D1 and D2, which should be more difficult than C just a little bit earlier. And this is where Korea should, what I say, make their money, right? This is, or get their money's worth, I should say. If E does come around, you want to try and waste as many lives as possible on the Thailand side so you have a better chance of closing out the game on E. If you don't close it out already on D1 and D2, but in typical fashion of Thailand on the attacking side, they're already making quick work of D1, already taking priority on one of the hills. Korea has failed to stop the early pushes from Thailand.
Yeah, I love that shout. Again, this is a lot of the same of yesterday, the way Thailand was playing against Korea. They were flying through points, not letting Korea get set up. The problem with last game where Korea won the defense was that Thailand let them get set up on a point with 2 vehicles, a full lockdown of a building, and they couldn't break it. This time, they're not going to make that mistake again, and they're repeating history right now with the speed at which they are taking these points. Down goes A, B, C, and now D1 in a matter of a blink of an eye. This is not even close at this point, but it doesn't mean the game is over. I do think that Korea could hold down either D2 or E for a very long time with the amount of slaying power they had. The only real problem I saw, actually, Taylor, was looking at that leaderboard and the score lines. A massive discrepancy in score between Thailand and Korea. You know what that means? It's snowball time. Thailand's going to keep calling in vehicles, call in guided missiles. I'm looking at Paper Cut to call in some very soon. I'm looking at NTPP to call in some very soon. 2 players at the top of the leaderboard for this Thailand team.
You know what's hard mentally for Korea at this point, you know, of course, subjugating is I feel Thailand, because they are getting on these objectives and capturing so quickly, Korea doesn't really have a chance to recoup. They don't have a chance to sit back and take their time and re-coordinate and, you know, get their wits about them. Sometimes when you get dominated so quickly in a game in esports, it's like the game is over in a blink of an eye. You don't even know what happened, right? That's why you need time in between maps to kind of recuperate, but more importantly, even on a micro level, in between hills and objectives, to recuperate and really think, you know, what the heck is even going on? How can we fix our issues? That's where the commander comes into play. Obviously talking about Dead Dog from the Korean side, but Thailand, and this is the also like in real battles, right? I mean, Thailand is so aggressive and so quick and so violent with their levels of attack. I don't even know what this guy's doing, bro. He is in TPP is just going nuts, by the way, snapping on everyone. But Thailand is so violent in their attack, Korea has no chance to recuperate and settle down their mind. Right now, it's just they're reacting instead of, of course, forcing Thailand to react to them.
Yeah, it was a good pickup there on Darkstar. Taking Darkstar out of a vehicle is a huge win, by the way. Darkstar has been a menace all day today and yesterday in the vehicle, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. I mean, this is utter domination, an exact replica of yesterday. And this is where the commentator and an analyst in me says, okay, yes, mathematically, they made the right pick. Hey, let's pick defense and let our opponents pick a map. But I wonder if they just think back to fighting this team on this map. Korea says, hey, we are in the advantage. Why don't we play any map we like, regardless of attack or defend, and just not let it be trench lines because of how bad it was yesterday? And I wonder if they're maybe thinking that right now, as of course, vehicle on vehicle warfare, who's going to win, the tank or the lob? I think the tank's going to win this one. Another great elimination there, and another vehicle down for the side of Thailand. But we're on to point E at max 200 lives. Yeah, this is not looking good. Look at the score discrepancy. This is so important. Look at the score discrepancy. 35,000 at the top versus 15,000 at the top, folks. You start doing the math on what you can call in, and I'm going to be honest, you can't call in a whole lot with 15,000. Let's take a listen in to Thailand.
เฮ้ยฟิลผมมีให้ฟิลผมมีจริงบันให้ซ้ายเยอะซ้ายขึ้นขวาเลยซ้ายกดอุ้ยสไลด์บนนี่สไลด์บนหอคอยบูแล้วโดนบนหัวฝั่งขวารีเซ็ตได้ไม่เป็นไรรีเซ็ตฝั่งขวาเหมือนเดิม
Well, great comms
if
across the board.
Korea at this moment in time, I'm wanting to get on top of the windmill, and that's exactly what they do. Because remember what they did earlier today when they were playing on trench lines against Japan? They prioritized taking over the windmill specifically so they can dominate with the AT-4s up top and take down the vehicles of Japan. And now I think that you do the exact same thing against Thailand, who has several vehicles, but more importantly, have been devastating with their vehicles. Okay, so for me, Korea already on top of the windmill, beautifully done. I wonder if Thailand does eventually try and counter that. Let's get real though. I mean, this is a large task for Korea defensively to hold on tight with how aggressive and violent Thailand has been. Let's do a listen with Korea and see how they sound.
라브 왼쪽으로 올라옵니다 이제. 네 확인이요. 우리 잡았지. 왼쪽 올라옵니다. 집중하세요. 왼쪽 올라옵니다. 왼쪽 전부 다 집중해요. 왼쪽 전부 다 집중. 지금 차이 있는데 이거? 지금 라브 왼쪽 아래 있습니다. 왼쪽 아래 있어요. 라브. 갈게. 이거 비건 남겨놔. 이거 힘들지도. 남겨. 왼쪽 옵니다. 왼쪽 절벽 왼쪽. 수리. 오케이. 재배치 우리 재배치. 절벽 아래. 왼쪽에 라브 올라와요. 왼쪽에 라브 올라와요. 라브. 천천히 기다려. 라브 발전기 위에.
Good listening. Clearly, things are going well, right? We look at the overall just chaos of what E is currently. Guided missile coming in. Vehicles are also moving forward for Thailand, and Thailand has a ton of real estate inside the hill on E. Korea might be on their last legs.
Yeah, and I think here with the guided missiles coming in, this is exactly who I said to watch out for. Is NTPP Papercut going to be calling in those first guided missiles, going to open things up for the offense, and you're seeing finally some of the defense's vehicles being cut down. This is the opening they need to get on the point and get active. A couple artillery strikes as well, and a couple more guided missiles, and I'm going to be honest, all of these guided missiles should be coming from Thailand. The rest of the score from Korea likely goes to the side of vehicles. Another guided missile, this time on the backside, doesn't strike hardly anyone, doesn't get a single pickup besides zoning potentially off the defense, off the point. The battle ensues around the power supply units on the outside here in the bottom right-hand corner, mid-corner of our screen here, and the tanks know it. They have to get involved, and all of a sudden, 3 tanks on the side of the defense is the difference maker to not lose this game immediately, as yet again, another Thailand vehicle is done and dusted. There is a question in my mind right now, Taylor, after all of that work. It was not close at all, and all of a sudden, there is a gigantic vehicle advantage on the side of Korea. All that we should be caring about as the attackers is how to kill those people. And here's another guided missile to open things up. Another Thailand missile from Zai comes in, blows up a couple people on the point, but it's still 3 tanks absolutely obliterating everybody spawning around these power units.
Yeah, and there's a respawn beacon, I believe, inside the power units as well, unless it was destroyed. But Korea regaining control against all odds. I gotta say, I am blown away, and I do believe the missile did destroy the respawn beacon, which is pretty bad, because now Thailand has to once again regain control. Goj, I'm gonna be real with you. I thought this was gonna be done with and dusted, but clearly it's not the case. Korea still very much in it. 151 lives, guys. I'm telling you, Korea is in this until they're not. Thailand once again has to try and retake. Let's listen in to their voices.
ไอ้ตรงจุดล่างอ่ะถ้าเราไหลเข้าซ้ายมันเดินช้านะใช่พยายามเล่นซ้ายไว้พยายามเล่นซ้ายไว้ทุกคนมันมีปืนเคออยู่ข้างบนมันมีปืนเคออยู่ข้างบนอย่าชุบปืนเคออยู่บนเสาอีกตัวนึงชุบอยู่พวกผมเข้ามาได้ที่อาคารแล้วทุกคนรออาคารแล้วจุดเซตก่อนรอต่อรถถังมาด้วยหน้าเข่า
Comms again. I mean, again, like the classic saying we're saying is that they sound clean, because you got to remember, these are IGLs for an entire team of 20. So it is constant stream of information, where people are at, where these tanks are at, how to aggress, where they want to go, what the orders are. It goes very quick, Taylor, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. The emphasis has to be on killing these Korean vehicles, and it needs to be very soon.
I think that's been the emphasis the entire time. You know, taking these vehicles down is of the utmost importance. And I think now, even for Thailand, right? Thailand has to take down the 2 tanks, and doing that's going to be so important. But I really do appreciate the fact that Korea has set up here. And I don't know if you noticed, by the way, on the zip, they had a Suniva razor trap on the zip up, just in case Thailand decided to get sneaky and go up. You know, it's just the little things, right, that make all the difference in the world. Trying once again to push up from the bottom of the hill is going to be Thailand, and their forces are looking a bit thin. I do think, you think they're maybe considering taking over the building next to E instead of going through like the power boxes?
I mean, that's absolutely what they have to do with 3 tanks on the board. Here's the thing. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care where you go or how you address this point. You lose if you can't kill these tanks. And you have to know that it does look like one has faltered. That's a huge win on the side of Thailand. They know what they need to do, and almost everybody should be running Stingers and Engineers, smoke and run up, and then blow these tanks to smithereens. That is your literal only option if you want to win this game. And it looks like they know that. They pushed back into the power supply units. They've taken 1 tank out. There's now only 2. Still a problem when Thailand has yet to call in a vehicle. They prioritize guided missiles, and they got nothing for it. And guess what? We've got another tank being called in from Korea. This is unbelievable. I mean, this is the problem, right? This is not going to be a win for Thailand if they don't figure out how to take down the tanks. And what's so interesting about these fights and the constant back and forth is that sometimes all it takes is 1 well-held point, and you can win this whole game, regardless of how the way the rest of the map's been going.
Thailand's a bit spread out. Korea also spread out themselves, but their line of attack, their angles, I think, is a little bit stronger, in my opinion. I'm paying attention to the bottom of the screen. Yeah, Korea, with just 2 strong, managed to take out 4 members of Thailand on that rock. Now you just got a couple more to clean up. There's going to be Fluffy BBC there. He's taken down. Korea's cleaning up shop. 112 lives now for Thailand, and I think it's official. Korea's back in the driver's seat. They're the ones with the momentum. They're the ones holding it down, forcing Thailand to think, what the heck is going wrong? We were steamrolling earlier. We were even steamrolling on E. We had it. Why are we no longer in the driver's seat? Why are we no longer winning? Well, of course, they've got to figure that out. They're desperately trying to get up there, Ghost, so they can place down a respawn beacon. But unfortunately, the respawn beacon that they had control in power, it was destroyed by the missile, right? You can't do anything about that. It is what it is. So now you've got to once again go, try to get a respawn beacon down so your troops can then spawn on you. And they're trying to do that through the E building. But there's only 2 there. They're not making a lot of progress. And once again, they're going to try not only from the building, but this rock, which they've just been getting gunned down. And a tank is there for good measure on the Korean side.
I'm going to be honest. This is looking horribly grim for Thailand. And I think one of the things that Thailand is going to have to do here is prioritize things that can take down the vehicles. I've been saying that over and over again, but what I mean by that is actually some of their call-ins. I don't know that you're going to kill a tank with a guided missile. I think it would be extremely difficult to do. I think you would have to target it perfectly. You'd have to target a space where they don't think it's going to land, like behind the point, and get lucky. That's not the way to do it. Instead, maybe artillery barrage could help you out a little bit and push them back on the point. I'm kind of thinking every single player on the Thailand side needs to back way up, regroup, and call in their own vehicles. That might be the only option. Those tank destroyers are a pretty good option to maybe get involved here. But, I mean, we don't even have an attack anymore. It looks like half this lobby on the Thailand side just left the game. There's nobody on the map. Like, they have nothing to do. And so, again, the call to action here is regroup, set back up, and move up as a unit. 3 vehicles is nearly an insurmountable force. And that word nearly is about to be removed pretty soon.
Is that Sarajin? Yeah, Sarajin from Korea. Perfect position, perfect spot. You can't even sneak up on him. Like, he's in such a great open position that if you try to sneak up, much like Korea was doing with the squad, trying to take down the tanks of Thailand during the B1 and B2 position and trench lines, like, that worked because you had a lot of coverage. Where Sarajin is at, you don't have any. So if you're trying to take an AT4 and get onto that hillside, you're going to get spotted a mile away. Now, I will say this, though, for Korea's sake, I see them getting very aggressive and pushing up. I don't want them to get carried away here. There's no reason to overcommit and overextend your team. I understand you want to get greedy, but there's no reason to get greedy. You had a power position. You knew where Thailand was trying to go, and it's right there where Noi is at, where Darkstar is at. And did that tank just get destroyed? No, it just took an AT4 shot. It's going to be okay. But don't get too greedy, Korea. You have a power position, and because you got greedy, now the forces from Thailand are pushing in. This was my worry.
Yeah, it's almost a worry in my mind. It's 3 tanks still. I mean, I feel like half of Korea's forces could just sit in the building and grab a cup of coffee. Like, 3 tanks, if they don't fall here, is unstoppable. So even if you give the attackers some moment of a position on point E, it doesn't matter. You roll in with engineers riding your tanks like it's a bicycle, and you just blow everybody up. I mean, this is the problem. This is the issue. Thailand doesn't have vehicles. They've called in their guided missiles. Their vehicles got destroyed early, and they spent a lot of their resources on other points to steamroll. We get to E. We got a lot of bodies on point right now, and the signal cry is going to be coming through that these tanks need to get on point to cap it back, and boom, all of a sudden, it doesn't even look like there's anybody here.
Oh, did it get destroyed? Respawn beacon's already destroyed. I was about to point it out. No, it's still there. Excuse me, it's still there. Thank goodness, at least from the Thailand side. And now the pressure's on. The pressure is on. The tanks are still in, obviously. Korea still has a defensive setup, but they have to clear out that building. Thailand has been trying to lock this building in and get a respawn beacon down for, I think, at least 60, 70 lives at this point in time. So for Thailand, they're in a better position they were before, but still questionable if they can close this out. But, Ghost, this is their best option. If Korea can successfully retake that building, get rid of the respawn beacon, I think they're going for gold. They're going to grand finals, and I believe the respawn beacon's out. Guided missiles moving in. Let's see how effective it is.
Yeah, this is going to be massively important. Which team is this for? Who does it land on? It was another Thailand missile that comes in and takes out 2. This is going to open up the point a little bit, and we've got a couple more missiles following. I can only expect that we will see our first Korean missile here shortly. Reminder, they were like 20,000 score behind the top scorer. It really wasn't even close, but this point has dramatically changed things, and there it is perfectly called. Seiko comes in, drops most of the Thailand forces on the point, and opens things back up for the defense with an answer back that kills nobody. Very well executed from Korea to hopefully retake this point as the tanks go swarming because the bodies keep coming. Because that respawn beacon continues to maintain space in the building. We talk about power positions on this map. We talk about power positions on E. It's the building every day of the week, including today. The problem is the tanks just will not fall. They cannot get any damage on these tanks. It doesn't even matter. Everything going right for the attackers. They're even taking part of this point. But at some point, when all holds left, when all of the defense is gone, there's still 3 tanks that can roll up onto the point and say, sorry, dog, you can't do anything about us.
It's a massacre. It's an absolute massacre. There's nothing, like you said, Thailand can do. Talk about flipping the script, ladies and gentlemen. Korea had their back against the wall the entirety of this game. We were ringing the alarm bells. Korea was done for. Chad, I saw what you were saying. Korea taking the L. But Thailand now, they're the ones taking the L because Korea has miraculously come back through grit and determination and ultimately wonderful coordination across the board from this Korean roster. They have held on to E. And I want to reiterate, Thailand went into this objective with 200 lives. They were maxed out. Korea truly was at their wits' end. I thought it was over with. And now they are 27 lives away from moving forward to grand finals against all odds, defeating what is a powerhouse team of Thailand and going against the top dog, which is China, for $40,000.
The top dog is dead dog, dropping another guided missile and picking up one in the building for posterity's sake. I mean, now we're just having fun with it. Let's take out some people from distance. You're not drawing a flag with this ATV. Sorry, dog. See you later. I mean, this is not even close anymore. Like, there was a moment, obviously, that everything Thailand did was perfect if Korea didn't have 3 tanks. I'm going to be honest. Like, everything they did, they pushed into the building. They had a respawn beacon. They had so much value. Look how far away they are with 13 lives. But there's still people inside the building. It's just too little too late. They couldn't isolate these tanks. They couldn't take them out. And because of that, they're going to lose. And some people are saying, oh, vehicles are overpowered. No, this was a strategy problem. Tanks are really strong. You somehow let Korea get 3 tanks and weren't able to answer back because we overspent on guided missiles and overspent on our vehicles early, who all got destroyed early. We've got no points left to spend on vehicles we can't answer. Everybody swapped to an engineer. Try to blow these tanks up. There's just 3 of them. It's too hard. It's not a vehicle problem. It's a strategy problem. And unfortunately, Thailand wasn't able to execute. And I know we sound grim, but 200 lives. They had max lives going into this. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Max lives. Max 200 total lives. And remember how quickly they got onto E as well. Had the respawn beacon, plus they were the first ones to call in the guided missiles. If I remember correctly, like, they had everything to win, but once that respawn beacon got destroyed over there in the energy terminals, like, that was pretty much a wrap, honestly, in my opinion. We do have another beacon down. I don't see where it's at, but this is a last-ditch effort. I mean, Thailand at their wits' end. 5 lives remaining. Tanks are still
unreal.
All 3 tanks circling like sharks in the water, and they are feasting upon the remaining bodies of Thailand. 0, and the celebration rightly earned. Korea comes into today from the losers bracket first. They take down Japan, then a rematch against Thailand, who dominated them just the day before. And they defeat the Boogeyman, and they go forward to grand finals with a guaranteed prize of $30,000, but they're not stopping there. They want the trophy. They want the $40,000, and they want to be the champions of the Delta Force Asian Championship League. And mind you, the first champions of Delta Force Esports on land.
Oh, that's so brutal, man. I mean, I'm seeing the reactions on both sides, and obviously complete opposites of one another in utter celebration and almost dumbfoundedness. The Korea team said, wow, we won it all. And unfortunately, on the tie stripe, they were so sure they were going to win that map, and then they lose in the final point. And you can see, especially from Yurzax, the leader, so sad. And, well, here's the side of the celebration. Unstoppable. Korea has moved on to the grand finals after nail-biting performance after nail-biting performance. Folks, you got to remember, Korea started in lower bracket round 2. This is a meteoric run. They have to go the farthest out of any team from losing the very first round, then winning in our first round of the lower bracket, winning second round of the lower bracket. Not only winning in 2 best of 3s. Yep. Clutch in the moment, good at defense. Opportunity knocks. They got to take down the behemoths. So many teams to talk about, so many players to talk about, and a great competition thus far. We finally made it to the grand finals right around the corner. We're going to be seeing China back on broadcast. We've been live for 7 hours today, and we haven't seen China once. They are waiting in the grand finals to see who their team will be that they're going to play against, and it's going to be Korea. Here's a quick interview, of course.